Well, welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat Survival Saturday. Today, let's talk garbage. I sat down with Marvin and we kind of brainstormed this. Because garbage is an interesting thing for us. So we started, years ago. Actually, I had already started making changes in my life, and Marvin had made them in his life to reduce trash before we even met. And so over the years, we've just, we're always looking for ways that we can reduce the amount of trash we have for several reasons. One, the less trash we have that needs to go to the landfill, the more money we save. And the less trash going to the landfill, the better it is for the environment, if we can find alternative ways. And so I think that part of what I found that we have fought in our own life and that we've known other people battling is we like convenience. We like things being easy, and to try to be responsible and cut back on something to make changes can really be uncomfortable and inconvenient, and nobody likes that. So today's video is inspired because Marvin and I haul our own trash. Where we live, we don't have to have garbage service. We own our own home. It's our option. I've lived places before where it was mandatory. I've lived in trailer parks and it was mandatory to have garbage service. Lived in rentals, it was mandatory to have garbage service. Apartments, you ended up paying for it because they had it anyway. But, we live in our own home and it's not mandatory. So we can haul our own garbage. And the transfer station, and I found this to be true, most places I've lived, it's usually less than 5 miles away. It's just right down the road. And like where we live, I can even look out, I can go out in my backyard and look across the field, soon to be a housing development, and I can see the transfer station. It's very, very close. So it's really not that big a deal. We've got a truck and a trailer to haul our trash. And so Marvin built us a big box. And in that box, we can stack very neatly 16 large garbage bags when they're full. And so we had we had a system. It's been changed a little. And we would haul garbage twice a year, sometimes maybe 3 times a year. And when we haul garbage, it often would be under $20. So, we probably would spend $50 or less a year in going to the landfill or to the transfer station where they take it to the landfill. Yeah, I don't know if anybody can even get a month's worth of garbage service coming to their house for that price. So, it's been a great deal for us. Now we've had kids move home or come staying temporarily, indefinitely temporarily. And, because we're all trying to accomplish some goals. And for Marvin and I, we needed some help. And so help has come. But with that, comes other people's habits and things. And it's been an eye-opener because especially with our girls, they live like what we used to. And they produce a lot of trash. So where we wouldn't have gone to the dump for at least 4 more months, we went to the dump shortly after they got here because there was a lot of trash. And so we hauled that in. And I think that one cost us $30 because we had some extra things. We had some rotted wood that needed to go and stuff that was heavy. And so that one cost us a little more. And then it ended up just being 26 days later. And our bin was full and we had to go again. And that one was like $15. But it's like, whoa, we're going to be hauling at the dump all the time. Like, that's a weird feeling for us. But, our girls, they are like most people, they go to the grocery store, almost every day and get whatever they're going to get for dinner. And then there's all these grocery bags that, which are paper now because it's illegal in our state for them to do the disposable plastic. And so, there's a lot of just grocery bags that come in when we go to a food pantry. We have grocery bags and boxes and stuff that the food comes home in. And so that produces a lot. Buying convenience foods that are already like in boxes and other containers, the pre-made tea in the big plastic jugs, stuff like that, that produces a lot of trash. And, Marvin and I, we stopped eating that way years ago for our health. Now, because we can't afford it, you can add that one to it. But lots of, when you've got takeout containers and things, I forgot how much trash we used to produce. And so it's inspired today because I think the majority of people probably are producing a lot more trash than what they really need to. So we're going to talk about trash, about garbage today. And Marvin and I sat down and brainstormed together. And so this is the list that we came up with pretty quickly of what we see of changes that we've made that has reduced our trash down so much. So now some of these things, I'm going to tell you, it works better when we do it, but we don't always do it. So I'm just going to be honest with you, right? So the first one is using those cloth reusable grocery bags. That saves on so much with the grocery bags, okay? So, and I've got those, but I forget, and you can even take those into the food pantry, at least here you can, and and they'll let you get your food put in that. But I forget to do it, so I'm not very good at that one. And I feel really proud of myself when I remember to do it. But when I do that, it is amazing how much just that alone can cut down, especially with people that are going to the store all the time, several times a week. Yeah, it adds up really, really fast. So now I have found that, which will be one of the other things where I'm going to talk about repurposing things. I have, like, whenever I did have plastic grocery bags, I have a cloth tube that I stuff them in the top and then you can pull them out the bottom. My aunt had made one for my mom years ago, and I thought that was so clever. So I started making them for me. And I do reuse those until they're not reusable anymore. But the paper bags, what I found, because I get a lot of those, and and we burn wood for heat in the winter, and sometimes you need some. I mean, we've got a wood stove, so once you get it going, it's always got coals in it. It's very seldom that it burns all the way out. But when you have to start that first fire, okay, to get it and heat that stove up, you need some paper or whatever, something to start the fire. But the grocery bags that they make now, the paper ones, they don't burn very good. So that doesn't really work to use them for that. But they work great for doing paper mache or just taking a box and recovering it, I'll just tear up the brown paper bag into little pieces and use just regular white glue and decoupage it on and cover the whole box. And then, whatever little baked goods I make at Christmas time, for people, I stick it in a box like that. And I've had people be more excited about the box than what was in it because it looks really, really cool. So, I do find sometimes that I can find a purpose for those bags, but for the most part, it's just a ton of them, and they don't compost down all that great either, or I just compost all of them. They've got some kind of a coating on them that they're not just regular paper bags anymore. So using cloth bags, doing for anything that you possibly can. And, even, when you go to Walmart and pick stuff up, they've got their reusable bags that you can get there, or you can take your own in. It really does save a lot. And it's not just saving you on trash that you've got to deal with, but it's helping save the environment. Like, really is helping save the environment. Then the next thing that I had on my list, which we are really good at, is we recycle. Like, we can recycle the metal for money. So soup cans, if the kids, have soda cans, because we don't do that. I don't do anything in aluminum. But all those things can be recycled for money. And yes, it means you're going to collect it for a while until you've got enough to take a load in, because otherwise, if you just take a little bit, it won't even pay for your gas. It's not like you're going to get super rich. But we do recycle a lot of stuff. So when an appliance goes out, a lot of places, like if you buy a new appliance, they'll haul your old one off for free. Oh no, we still keep ours because we can go recycle it and, and get some money out of it, some decent money. And so that helps us on a couple of levels. It produces a little bit of income, as well as it's something that doesn't have to go to the landfill. The next thing, which I've done a whole video on, is composting. Anything that I have that can be composted, I compost. And I've got in my greenhouse, which you can, see there? You can see my greenhouse today. In my greenhouse, I have some really huge planters. I have 3 really big planters, and I direct compost into those. And the heat in the greenhouse alone, it breaks stuff down really fast in the summer, and in the winter, because I've built up all these organisms in there, it composts down. So you can take stuff out and fill that container up, and when you go out tomorrow, it's already dropped a foot. So it composts really fast in there, and you can get a lot of good composting materials, which is not just food scraps, not meat, not bones. I do eggshells. I do if you have the shells off a shrimp or something. The girls did some shrimp the other day, and I'm like, hey, put your shells in the compost. It makes great compost. And they're like, really? And so there's a lot of things like that you can compost down. Even the egg cartons that are made out of the paper, not styrofoam. I don't like styrofoam either. But the paper ones, when they start getting wore out, you can tear those up and they compost down really nice too. So newspaper, it composts down really nice. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of the junk mail I get, is stuff I can just shred it up and put it in my compost, and it turns into wonderful, nutritious soil that will feed my plants. So composting is a big one for me. That so much of our stuff can go into the compost because of our lifestyle. Okay. So even the hair out of your hairbrush, if you don't use hair products and you don't take a lot of medication, normally I take no medication. I've been taking some Tylenol, ibuprofen, because I've been in a lot of pain lately. And so but I haven't had that stuff in years. And so I'll wait until I'm not doing that, because all those things come out in your hair, and I don't want to put anything like that in my compost. But otherwise, because I take no medications and I use nothing that's not natural, anything I use on my hair, I could eat it. It's safe to eat. Might not taste good, but it's safe to eat. So I know that when I clean my hairbrush out, I can compost my hair even. So it's fine. You can actually, if you don't take any medications, you can compost your pee. That's a whole nother thing. There are people that do that and water it down and use it as a fertilizer, and I guess it's great. I haven't gotten that crazy yet, but you never know. Okay, so there's a lot of things that can be composted and put into your plants. The next thing was, there are a lot of times when you can fix something rather than replacing it. We live in a disposable society. Things are not made to last, and we have this mindset to just let it go. Now, I've got some floor lamps that actually I never even bought. I've got 3 floor lamps. One came from a lawyer's office. They set it on the street because it didn't work anymore, and so Marvin stopped and made sure they were giving it away, and yeah, it didn't work. He brought it home, and it just had a burnt out light bulb. And being that it was at a lawyer's office where they're supposed to be intelligent people, it just made it all the funnier to me. But now we've had that for several years. And now that lamp, the socket has wore out. So it needs a new socket. Then I've got another one that somebody had set on the side of the road, needs a new socket. And then another one that came out of a friend of ours when he died, and we were cleaning out one of his storage trailers. It had 2 floor lamps in there, and they were just going to haul them to the dump. And I'm like, no, I'll haul them home. And one worked fine, no problem. And the other one needs a new socket. And I already have the sockets. I just have to remember where I put them. That's the story of my life. And I know I put them somewhere, so it would be really easy for me to find them. And anytime I do that, I can't find it. Marvin does the same thing, though, so we just laugh at each other. But the girls were like, Mom, why don't you just toss those lamps? They're cheap to get a new one. Why do I need a new one? There's nothing wrong with this one. It just needs the socket changed out, which is pretty simple to do. And I just got to find the sockets. So until then, I can play with the little knobby on it, and I can kind of get it just so and turn the light on. And that's driving them nuts because they can't get it right. But there are a lot of things that just need one simple fix, like a light bulb that works, and there's nothing wrong with it. So we don't need to keep throwing everything away and getting new ones. In fact, let me just tell this story, which I maybe have told before, but so Marvin does little side jobs, to kind of help supplement our income, and so kind of, whatever comes along thing. And so there was a guy that we met, and he is a fairly wealthy man. And he said, hey, you do different things. I've got a bunch of old furniture that's no good. It just needs to go to the landfill. I'll pay the landfill, the dump fees, and I'll pay you to haul it. Would you do that? And Marvin's like, yeah, sure. And so Marvin went over to get the stuff. There was nothing wrong with the furniture. His wife just wanted to, every couple of years, she likes to change up and get something new. And so to them, it was no good. But there was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't broken. There was one thing that was, one of the couches, because there was a lot of furniture, but there was one of the couches I think was ripped up too much. It needed to be reupholstered, and so no donation place would take it. And I didn't have the time or oomph to be, and I didn't need the couch. And that one, it did have some things were breaking down on it. So it did end up getting hauled off. But everything else, and Marvin said, do you care if I were to donate the good stuff? The one couch is questionable, but everything else, there's nothing wrong with it. So if I was to donate it, or even if we could use some of it, and the guy, he goes, then you don't have to pay the dump fees on it. And the guy goes, yeah, no, that's great. I don't care what you do with it, as long as it's not here. So it saved the guy money, because I think we even covered the dump fees on the couch out of what he paid Marvin, because it was just the one item, and it wasn't that much money to take it. And we had some other trash to haul anyway, so we just took care of it. But I have a love seat from that's in my living room, perfectly fine. And this was years ago, and it's still perfectly fine. I have a dining room chair that was in it to be thrown away, that is solid as a rock, built good. I mean, this chair is awesome. Does it match anything else? No, but it's sitting in a bedroom as an accent chair anyway, someplace, to sit down when you want to put your shoes on or whatever. I've got it in the guest room. But it is absolutely nothing wrong with the upholstery. It's like, did they ever even use it? I think it just didn't match anything else. And I don't know, I don't know what the reason was. But that chair is one of the sturdiest chairs I have. And then I have a recliner that is my favorite place to take a nap. That sits right by the wood stove in that room. So in the winter, I can kick back, take a nap in front of that fire. Oh, that is my sweet spot. Now, I've been spending more time in it this summer too, because with knees and feet and hips and stuff going going out on me and having days when I just couldn't walk or had so much swelling and stuff, that's a great place to go get my legs up and elevate them and take a nap. So I know at least those, and there might be some other furniture I got from that too. But and then we had some other people that got some furniture off that, and whatever people didn't want, we took and donated at one of the donation places, and they sold it. So it all turned out good. So another person's junk is another, one man's junk is another person, or man's treasure, or however that thing goes. But that's true. And there's a lot of things that we're very quick to just throw it away and get a new one when it's a simple fix, or there's nothing wrong with the old one just because you don't want it anymore. So we'll talk about that on down here, even though I've already touched on it. But before you replace something, see if you can fix it. I mean, Marvin, he does simple fixes on our fans that we have in the house. And I'll be like, okay, I think this is it. We need to let go of this one. You've repaired it so many times, and he's like, all it needs is a little oil. So yesterday the girls and I were trying to get one of those fans going, and I'm like, I think this one it probably is ready to go. And Marvin came home. We're like, we'd put a different fan in its place, and he goes, what's wrong with this fan? You couldn't get it going. We even, we opened it up, tried to, get the blades to go, because that's another thing. Sometimes all it needs is a little kick start. Although you better be very careful doing that. I told the girls, you stand back, I'll do this. I'm experienced, and I won't cut my fingers off, but it's just a plastic blade. It still smarts, I know, because I've been hit by it, but it's not gonna cut my fingers off. Anyway, we couldn't get it going, and so Marvin, I had unplugged it to plug the other fan in. He goes, well, it just needs to be plugged in. I go, it was plugged in. I unplugged it. He plugged it in, turned it on, and it worked fine. So it's still here. Okay, so yeah, there are a lot of things. Is it a little inconvenient to have to fix something? A little time consuming? Yes, but it can save you hundreds of dollars in the course of a year easily. All right, next thing that we've noticed, like with the girls, they buy a lot of processed foods, that come in a box, or some other, like a plastic container or something that, you just heat it up or add water or whatever. And Marvin and I used to eat that way, and then we stopped for health reasons because there's a lot of things added that are in that box or that container with that food and now there's some really scary stuff in there. So we don't eat that way. So we don't have all that packaging. Well, the girls, you're working all day, they're doing things for convenience. And oh my goodness, they can fill a trash bag pretty much every day, pretty close to it, with those things. Or, they get takeout, and there's a lot of takeout containers. And I'm like, man, we used to do this, and I just had forgotten. So again, if you go back to eating real food that you cook and fix yourself, you chop it up yourself, you put it in the pan or the oven or whatever, and you're doing the processing and not adding all those chemicals, it's healthier for you. Plus, it's amazing of how much packaging that you don't have that is being sent to the landfill. And it's like other things, like we got a box of cereal the other day, at the food pantry, and so our grandson had opened it up to get some cereal, and it's like the bag, and it's the regular size box, but that bag isn't even half full. Inside of there, there's a lot of wasted space that comes with packaging. So again, you would be surprised at how much you will cut out just from that. Now, when I do get stuff, maybe spaghetti sauce or something that, pickles or whatever, that comes in a glass jar with a lid, I clean them up. When I'm done, I take the labels off and I keep them because it'll hold rice, it'll hold pasta, it will hold a million things. It can work as a cookie jar. I mean, I save glass and lids. I also save, like, if it's a metal can that has a lid, I save those because, I can put crackers and things, because for us, we live where there's we live in the wild. even though civilization is here. So getting mice and things can be, especially in the winter, is a real problem. And so we have to make sure we're protecting everything from getting any mice in there, because then we really will have a mouse problem and we'll lose our food. So anything that we need to keep away from the mice goes in those kinds of containers. And basically the container's free because you had what you were buying, whatever was in it. Now the container has another purpose that it serves for you. So we keep things like that we can reuse, and even like really heavy plastic containers with lids. Marvin has me keep those. He keeps old pill bottles with their lids, because he can keep like nails and screws and and stuff. He uses it to store a lot of his things. And so he'll see a container and go, hey, what are you doing with that one? Well, I don't know, did you want it? Yep. Okay, I'll clean it up and put it in your room. You got it. So repurposing containers that food comes in. Now with the cardboard ones, the paper ones, that's not so easy to do. But with metal and heavy plastic, I don't store food in the plastic. Again, because I'm a wackadoodle and it's for health reasons. I choose not to do that. That's me. Now, one of the things we used to do that we can't do anymore because it's not legal here anymore, but it used to be legal to burn our trash. And that took care of a lot of stuff. And then the ash that was left can be put in the garden. The ash from our wood stove goes in our garden. We haul it out there all winter long, and then by spring it's sat long enough, and we work it into the soil, and it is a great fertilizer. And so it composts down nicely. And in fact, there's some different things where I'll get blossom end rot, and like on squash or something, and I can just sprinkle a little ash around the plant, and it takes care of that for me. So that comes in really handy if you make your own soap. You can get the lye out of, and there's tons of videos on how to do that on YouTube, but you can get the lye out of the ash. And when they talk about potash, that's it. And then you can use that for making soap. So, if you can burn trash, I don't believe, I watched a gal the other day was talking about burning trash, and she's burning plastic and rubber, and yeah, I wouldn't do that because you're putting some toxic fumes up there. But she's like, oh yeah, you can burn the cans. A metal can's not going to burn. You'll burn the label off of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think, for me personally, I'm not going to just burn anything and everything. I would be picky about that and careful. So, but that's just me. But like I said, we can't even do that anymore. It's not allowed. Then, what I talked about before is reusing items, the different containers, the furniture, whatever, repurposing things. Like, okay, when clothes wear out, I then take, if there's anything left good in it, I cut it up and put it in my rag bin for cleaning rags. If there's buttons on it, I save the buttons. If the zipper is still good, I save the zipper. If it's got hooks and eyes or snaps that are still good, I save them. And then I reuse those things so that that entire piece of clothing usually becomes something else, and none of it ends up in the trash. And, and that's my goal, is I look at things and like, what can I do with this rather than just toss it? Does it have a purpose? And can it be used? And then that's what I do. So trying to think through and get creative and seeing, is there some way I can repurpose this and not just toss it? Then I already talked about keeping plastic containers with lids or cans with lids and using that for storing different items. And then the last thing that in the old clothes. Oh, and then the other thing is there's a lot of stuff that we found mainly with other people. There was another, a family that their parent had died and they were cleaning out the house. And so they just, Marvin, can you come and, bring your dump trailer and we're just going to throw stuff in it to go to the dump. Well, there were things that they were throwing away that were perfectly good. There was a brand new hose still with the cardboard on it. It hadn't even been used, and they're throwing it in to go to the dump. And so he's like, okay, wait a minute. can I go through this with you? Because things that are still usable, let's set them to the side, because I can take them and donate them and it won't cost you anything. And everything else, then you just pay the dump fee on what can't be repurposed or isn't still good. And there were so many things that the bulk of what they were cleaning out ended up going to donation. Perfectly good items, so many of them brand new, still in the box. And then the real trash went to the landfill. So you can take your stuff to donation and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you put it in your trash receptacle, am I saying that right? To be picked up with your weekly service, that's costing you, and it's taking up space that you could put other trash. If you're hauling it to the landfill yourself or to the transfer station, that's costing you. But if you take it to donation, it's not going to cost you just the gas to get there. And they can use that money, because a lot of the donation places, I know around here, every single one that we go to, it's a charity. We take some things to Goodwill. We take some things to Habitat for Humanity, and then there's some other private organizations, some different religious organizations and stuff that have thrift stores and stuff that we can donate to, and then helps them. There's one that it helps fund the food bank, so I donate there because the food bank helps me, and then I can give back and help them too. So if there's still life in something and you don't have a purpose for it, somebody else, it's something they need, and so you can donate it. And and with that, if you need to make a little money and you don't mind giving up a couple of days, you can have a yard sale and take care of things. And if you don't even have the money to haul it in gas, you can go on, there's different free cycle and stuff where you can put things on for free and people will come. You just they let you know they want it, and you just set it outside and they pick it up. I know we got a huge chalkboard that way, that I saw a woman, she got this chalkboard and then decided she didn't like it, and it was used and she wanted to get a new one. So anybody that wanted it for free could have it. So and you do everything through email. So I contacted her. Was it still available? Yes, it was. I'm like, she goes, how soon could you come get it? I go, we can come right now. Where do we go? She gave me the address. I'm like, we're less than 5 minutes away. She set it out, and this was during COVID. And so when we were on lockdown, so she set it out by her garage, and we drove by, and there it was, and we got out, and she hollered from her door, thank you, and we're like, no, thank you. And we got this really nice chalkboard that we use all the time. Marvin, we put notes up there, jobs he's got waiting or whatever, and lists of things we need to do around here. It's a list board, and we already had a bunch of chalk, and all I had to do was get an eraser, which I didn't even have to do that because a cleaning rag works just as well. But I found an eraser for 50 cents somewhere. I don't even remember where, and I'm like 50 cents. So I got the eraser, and and it took care of that. So I've been blessed that way. So, and where we live, you can just set something by the side of the road, put free on it out front of your place, and people will stop, and it's usually gone before the sun goes down that night. So, there's a lot of things that could be a blessing to somebody else, and there's even ways to get it hauled off without it costing you a penny. So, thinking along those lines. And then our very last thing was we haul our own trash because we can. And like I said, when it was just Marvin and I, and down to where we were at, we spent $50 or less a year to haul our trash. Now, sometimes we might pay more than that because we would have some things that needed, like we had some furniture that was literally falling apart, and it was made out of particle board, so it was turning to sawdust. And and you could just, I wouldn't compost it because there's all kinds of chemicals that are put in there to make the particle board, but some people would just push that back into their woods and let it rot down. We chose not to do that because, again, all those chemicals and things, and it's just it felt good to just clean that out. There was no use for it anymore, and to just haul that off where it'll be buried in a landfill seemed like a better choice for us. So, nobody does it all perfect, and each person's going to have their own thoughts and feelings about it. But I'm telling you, you can save money, you can save the environment, and now there are people that are moving out more remote, and they can't get garbage service, and it's not feasible to go even every month to haul their garbage. And what do you do about your garbage? Because I believe, and my goal is to get to where we didn't have to haul garbage at all, that we could handle our own garbage ourselves if we lived remotely. And honestly, I think Marvin and I could do that now. So, yeah, I think we could. So if you cannot afford garbage service at all, there is a way, but you're going to have to inconvenience yourself in order to cut down on the amount of garbage you have. And honestly, I think everybody should be doing that anyway. It is a shame, all the things that we just so quickly send to a landfill to build this mountain of garbage that we're covering up with dirt, because it's still going to affect the environment in some way. It's in a place that has been set aside for that, so it's not going to be by somebody's well water or anything, but still, I think that for me as a follower of Christ, I see it as part of being a good steward, is learning to manage all these things and not being wasteful. Okay, so there's some thoughts, some ideas, maybe something will make a click for you. I just, it's things like the cloth grocery bags. At first I thought that's not that big a deal, but it is. It does save a lot. And some of you guys, you got a sewing machine, and you can even make your own out of scraps and old clothes or old jeans. Old jeans make great bags. I have done that. And that's another thing I'll do, is I will save. I've had clothes that, maybe it got a really bad stain I couldn't get out of, or a hole that couldn't be mended or something, but there's still a lot of good fabric. Make something else to wear out of it. Done that many times. When I was a kid, flour used to come in a cloth bag, and they would put pretty little flower prints and stuff, little calico prints. And much of my clothing when I was a little girl was made out of those flour sacks that my mom, and she made her dish towels out of them. And, I grew up, and, for Marvin and I, we're at that age. We grew up with parents that were born in the Depression and came out of it, and grandparents that lived through the Great Depression. And so they already had to change their way of living to survive. And my belief is we're right back there, people, and it's, and we're just going deeper in. Some people just haven't felt the impact yet and don't realize it. So simplifying our lives, I think, is really important. And but this is, in a lot of ways, this dealing with trash is simplifying your life, because you're going to quit just accumulating so much stuff that has to be just hauled out and taken somewhere, and you're going to use what you have. All right, there's some thoughts. I know it was a long video, but there's a lot of things that you can do. I hope you found something that will help you. You can't do everything at once. Small steps. You consume an elephant one bite at a time, so maybe you'll find another bite you can take today. All right, I hope you guys are doing well. I love you. Take care, and I'll talk to you again real soon.